Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassy, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
Man, how you guys doing? It's a rainy, gray Sunday afternoon. BLT Fest 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Good
Watching the door. At the Star Bar, thank you for your hospitality. So many magical things happen. We talk about this all the time on the show. It's like, it's up to you. Life can suck or be awesome. We choose awesome.
True.
Know? And it's like during the pandemic, the world shut down. But some good things came out of it. Like we started doing these live streams. So we want to give the shout out to Andy Gish and Kim Ware for starting the Come On to My House page. And because of that, I met our guest who now I consider a freaking mate. Because of the pandemic, the world came to this grinding halt, and then we started playing music. And again, shout out to Andy Gish and Kim Ware for starting the Come On to My House page. We're doing a festival here tonight at the beautiful Star Bar in Little Five Points in Atlanta because of it. Cassy and I, one of my best friends for almost 27 years or so, 28 years.
Almost 30, actually.
30 years, okay, my memory is shot. We were at a birthday party at a friend's bar. Shout out to Brian Valentino at the Trackside Tavern, where he only let 10 people be there for your birthday, where we decided to come up with this idea for the show. A book club for the coolest, music nerds, you know. And so I met Vic, who's one of my favorite humans and certainly favorite singers during this time. And so we're celebrating tonight. We're playing music. We're celebrating all the good stuff we love. We're like, let's get Vic on the show. And then you and Vic become friends online, and you start talking. And now you finally meet in person. He's giving you a high five.
I think I met you. Did I meet you in person at was it the last BLT Fest? It was. I mean, it was at Waller's.
Yes, you met at Waller's. Yeah, you did meet at Waller's.
We did. We met the first time at Waller's.
But you before.
It was when there was something when we at the record thing.
No,
we met. That's when I met.
No, but I don't think it was that. I think it was Waller's.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay because
I'm happy to finally know Vic.
Me too. And we need to get into it because the beautiful thing is we just talk about records that we love, and I love this record that you talked about and brought to us. Yeah. But again, my name is Tom Cheshire. Sometimes they call me T Chesh. Best friend Cassy. Shout out to James, Greg, Matt, B. Kinch, everyone in the background. Billy Inman. Right? D Nice. Denise, you know, she's at home sleeping and managing things, you know. Yeah. But I just want to give the floor to and let him talk about this record and talk about it, hold up and talk about it.
Vic Burgess.
Vic Burgess, 1970s soul singer, in my opinion.
Incredible. So you picked you gave us some options. And then they were all incredible. Yeah. I sent the list, and Tom immediately picked this record that we're going to talk about.
I love this record.
This record,
I was listening to this morning.
I was not familiar with it all. I had heard the name of the artist. Let's get into it. It is No Depression by Uncle Tupelo.
Well, a lot of it's Jeff Tweedy from Wilco's band before that.
I didn't know that. And honestly,
I'm not hands down. Yeah.
Very.
The first Sun Volt record's great.
I had known. Okay, obviously I've heard of Wilco, and I know that I'm sure I've heard some Wilco, but they're not a band that I was super familiar with. So when you picked this, I was not aware that there was an association.
And they were kids too, right?
They were little kids. Yeah. Like when they were
teenagers.
Yeah, I think. They were born. They were all 3 of them. So Jeff Tweedy, Jay Farrar, and the drummers. Why can I not?
I didn't.
Vic
can read right here.
Vic brought some notes.
Yes, the drummer is Mike Heaton.
Good to see you. Hey, you look great. Good. I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know. They all were born in the same hospital the same year, 1967.
It's just such a beautiful, strange band. And that time around that time, and I want to really give you the floor, let you go, but so much great stuff came out that wasn't didn't hit any mainstream stuff, but then you go back and listen to it. For me, Steve Earle stuff, I love just all that stuff, you know, and it was such a great time of music, you know.
I think it was something. Okay, so when I was researching this, it really pointed out something that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into, which was this came out a little bit before, alternative music like it broke. Like it became, remember when it wasn't all like this is goth or this is emo or this is this, this is this. It was all just like there's alternative and there's mainstream, right? And then you have like country and metal.
Then later
but
on,
like,
someone came up with the term alt country or whatever, or Americana, But it's really hard to explain because I think it's punk.
Yeah, well,
but
that's the interesting thing is that they, like Jeff Tweedy was a huge, and I didn't know this at first. I was listening to it, and one of the things I liked was all the stops and how dynamic it is.
Yes.
Jeff Tweedy is a huge Minuteman fan. Minuteman fan. He was,
and a lot of it reminds me of Replacements as well. Very much,
but he really, and so they started out. The three of them with Jay's older brother.
Cheers,
they started out doing a punk. They were in a punk band. First it was called the Plebes, then it was called the Primitives. And the first thing I thought was, wait a minute, the Primitives, like Tracy, because the band from England, right? And apparently that's why they changed their name was because they're like there was this,
get in trouble eventually.
Right. So they changed it to Uncle Tupelo, which I think, which was a character that one of their friends had drawn.
Yeah.
But I think that what's incredible is
based on a Fat Elvis.
Yeah, it did look like a. But honestly, I think the name. You hear the name Uncle Tupelo, and I wasn't familiar with their music.
Yeah.
So when I listened to it, I was like, that name goes so much better with the music that they're making, that they made, than the Primitive. Yes, it totally did. And honestly, after listening to it, I was just like, this does make sense to be the record that we did, that you picked, that we did for your episode.
So and by the way, you're such a great musician and singer, and also you're really good at like your perception of how you even do covers. I've heard you do Tom Waits songs and stuff, and like what he does is that's an art, and we've become really good friends, and I'm just a fan of his, and it's cool that when you become peers and you're friends with each other. I loved every record you did pick, but this record had such an impact that there's like a big magazine called No Depression.
I mean,
That's why one of the reasons I picked it.
And
instead of
so why did you pick this record?
I did actually pick this one. It was. And I know you said it was challenging for you too. I'm not as familiar as this as I'm even Anodyne, which was their last album.
That was their first major label release, right? And their last album
before they broke up.
And it's kind of crazy with that record because it sounds like a band breaking up.
Yeah,
really.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's probably because they were. I mean, they were the best of friends, and they started, but then they
two distinct songwriters, and even we'll talk about that on this album where it's mostly Farrar on this. But I picked this because it does have so much of an impact on what became alt country. Think about this. This came out in 1990, right? This I was talking to my guitar player, right hand man, Troubadour Stone, aka
cheers,
Stone.
shout out. I love your hat, and I love it, man. Love you.
And so I was talking about how this came out. And there again,
so they recorded in '88 or '89, which is
89 probably. So this was at probably the height of the Pixies.
Yeah,
right? Dinosaur Jr. And actually, God.
Look at these notes.
Yeah, basically, this, and I didn't know this, but I messaged you. I was like, obviously, because apparently, they hired the guy. And I'll look at his name.
Yeah,
Paul Cordor and Sean Slade.
Yeah.
That had done Dinosaur Jr. Bug.
They did.
Right.
And he actually used, and I didn't know this, obviously.
Yeah, the 61 Gibson, right?
Yeah, he borrowed it. And when you listen to it, if you like Dinosaur Jr., it's like, yes.
Yeah, you can
hear
that.
So this stuff falls so much in that. You talk about alt country, which it is, but it's also Dinosaur Jr., it's also the Pixies, it's also Nirvana. I mean, we'll get into the songs later. Graveyard Shift is that was a year before Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it's got that same.
Right. It's the best opener.
Yes.
And these funny things, I love doing this even when I record, and it says like, Rich Gilbert played the whiskey bottle, and Paul Cordor played throwing the rice can on the screen door.
Right.
It's like, banging on a wooden drawer or something.
Several of the songs on this were actually on their original demo, and apparently the Slade and that they convinced, or maybe it wasn't them, but one of them, I believe, convinced them instead of using the harmonica in a lot of places, they used the pedal steel, and apparently that changed the sound a good bit because it made it like more country sounding and less just jangly.
Yeah.
So have you heard the demo? Because I have not.
Yes, because it's on there's a lot of it that's on the.
Yeah.
They put out a box set, right, later? Or the repress in 2003.
Yeah, it's on, and there's a cover of Sin City by Flying Burrito Brothers.
Yeah,
there's a few other things.
Well, the cool thing about when you discover like a musician or an artist is when you hear what you think are their influences.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see an interview and they tell you who their influences are, once in a while you're lucky, like when we talk about Troy Moore and say, oh, Robert Hitchcock and Tom York, whatever, you know, and then you say that, and then once in a while you're lucky and you're like, I thought that, and then they tell you something else that is from left field, but then you go, how did I not hear that?
Right.
Like Flying Burritos Brothers, totally.
Well, I wouldn't have said Minutemen, but
I would say
Pixies were probably influenced by Minutemen too.
I would say Replacements more than Minutemen, but to be honest with you, the time stops.
It does make sense. Totally, it makes sense. Jeff Tweedy actually says the Minutemen were huge.
And they were a trio.
And they originally, when they were a four-piece and they were the Primitives, they mostly did punk. And part of the reason that they kind of went to more of a country sound was for where they were in was it Belleville?
It's like
Belleville, Illinois.
Outside Chicago.
But no, it's not. No, it's a suburb of St. Louis.
Okay,
it's super far from Chicago. And so it's kind of like Champaign-Urbana, which it might have been like one of my best friends in the world, Violet. She went to Champaign, and that's the school that I almost wanted to go to. And if I wouldn't have, they didn't take transfer students, because if I would have went there, I never would have met you, because I ended up going to Athens.
It's close enough to all the St. Louis people like Dave Perner from Soul Asylum and all those people, and Jayhawks. All
I can hear that.
But here's the thing. So they're for the college crowd, punk really wasn't as much of a thing. Like it wasn't. They didn't get. They couldn't get their voices heard, like musically as much. So their parents they had been introduced to country, like the whole first time that Jay Farrar had ever heard No Depression was because he was looking through his mom's records, and cool. His mom had that. So his parent, both of their parents were. All their parents were into country somewhat, and it was more of what the college crowd kind of wanted to hear. So they kind of started leaning that way, and that's kind of how they melded that, which I think is so incredible that it's just like
insane melding.
Yeah,
but it's a weird thing because when you hear interviews with like Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips, who's just this magical cartoon character and stuff, and all around the same time, like they were trying to figure out what they were doing, but bands like Black Flag are coming through town, and they're like, my parents have a basement. I knew you guys are making money. You could sleep in my basement, and that's what got all these guys to start their bands, and that's the punk thing.
Right.
So it doesn't even necessarily have to sound punk, but it becomes the punk thing.
And Jeff Tweedy will definitely say that. Like he'll say that a lot. That. Like they felt like they were punk all the time, all the way anyway, because of just like a lot of their.
And the way he thinks is because even in Wilco, I've read his last two books. The guy is punk as hell. I mean, like he hates the right things, which is why we love each other.
Yeah, he sounds like they both sound incredible. I read more of the articles that I was able to find that had actual interviews and actual quotes had more from Jeff Tweedy, and he said that early on. I think because they had that country feel and whatever that they felt like early on that a lot of people were kind of making fun of them, and I'm sure that they kind of had that.
And also, you're an artist and you're insecure.
Yeah, but I think that's so because a lot of art, especially after they become well known, I don't think that a lot of people have the ability to talk.
Even though they had a major label record, I don't think they were that well known.
Well, no, but I'm talking about. I'm saying like now obviously he's well known because of Wilco, but it's like, but the fact that this was something from an article that or an interview that he did since Wilco, since he's been in Wilco and since he's gotten the fame, that he that usually artists don't show that vulnerability once they've made it to a certain level.
Well, in his first book, he talks about he had relationships with two Jays. One was Jay from this band that became Sun Volt, and the other was Jay, who was in Wilco, who was amazing, who played every instrument, and he passed away. He fired him from the band, and a year later he passed away, and it was heartbreaking, and he talks about it. And that guy was amazing, stuff he did on like Jesus, etc. and stuff. And it's like, even if you convince yourself, like, there's got to be a lot of guilt and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're already a heavy person who takes these things heavy and you battle depression, you know what I mean? Like, I know me, like some nights I'm alone in the closet, punching punching walls and crying, it happens.
That kind of like leads into like how they were able to do this and not sound. And have it not sound forced. Have it sound so organic.
It's very organic and sounds natural.
Lots of playing in the basement.
But I think,
yes.
well, I think, but
and
also
being kids, like you're learning as you go.
But also, I think it's there. A lot of the things that Jay's singing about in this, a lot of his lyrics, they're about adult things going on around him.
Adult. Yeah. Well, I think they probably came from dysfunctional,
things he's scared of becoming. It's this thing. It's scared of being in the factory belt. It's scared. Of, I don't want to get stuck here.
But
I see what my brother's doing. I don't want to do that.
But I think that what made it so that makes it not comical or not sound forced is that even though they're seeing this around them and they're not necessarily living a lot of these things themselves, that they committed to. They committed so much to the emotion of it, and they got a lot of it has to do with commitment. That they were like, this is our sound, and these are the things we believe in, and they got behind it, and it's almost like you have to take it seriously.
And it's so wild because I've been listening to a lot of like Wild interviews lately, and I'm a huge D Boon fan, I'm a huge Minutemen fan, and even Firehose. And even watch solo stuff, his operas. And it's funny, and that's what we love about the show, everybody. It's right now I'm hearing Minutemen stuff. So thank you for saying that.
No, I mean, because I was interested when I read that about the Minutemen.
Not necessarily bass, but the timing.
It's the timing.
And the
it's how it stops. You know what I mean? It's how it stops and starts
certainly
up
not the jangly guitar.
The connection between the whole Woody Guthrie ethos that's in the song No Depression that was written by Acuff.
Yeah,
I mean it was.
No Depression. The Carter family.
It was a Carter family gospel song. And that connection to those people that felt the same thing that he's feeling. Right. Man, we're just barely getting by.
Yeah, we're not even getting by.
Yeah, and I don't want to be stuck on the factory belt. Right. That whole feeling, you can hear that and feel that in the song.
So actually, and I meant to say this in the intro, everybody. Sorry, but that's the beautiful thing about the show. No edits.
Yeah.
Again, Vic Burgess and his band, the X-Laws. Oh my goodness.
Incredible.
So amazing.
Incredible.
Beautiful. Be like, man, I'm blushing, I'm a Russian. Yeah, but no, amazing.
And we'll definitely put a link to when you do your write-up we do a write-up and we put it on the website and put it out.
What's your favorite song? Because right now, Graveyard Shift is what I want to hear 10 times in a row.
No,
and it's hard to not say Graveyard Shift.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to not say Graveyard Shift. Because it is the best song.
But I'm not going to say it. Let's talk about
Graveyard Shift. Okay, there's the equivalent. Graveyard Shift is the equivalent of the three of us are on horses at the gates, and they shoot the gun, and we go out and we slam out the gates. You know what I mean?
That the fact that they put that at the very beginning and that first part of that song is so pretty. Like it's really you talk about that.
Every bit as powerful as Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it came out a year earlier.
Yes,
a year earlier. Right. And when you listen to it, and I sold it wrong when I was talking to Troop about earlier. But when I said they had that little grunge, they have the grunge as far as Dinosaur Jr. does. Right. They have that dirty freaking, just dirty rocking and that. Just like Smells Like Teen Spirit's got that too. But Kurt Cobain himself said what? He said Smells Like Teen Spirit is a total Pixies ripoff. Oh, totally. Which that slow stop.
He did say that.
And it's but it's that same thing, man. And to me, Graveyard Shift's right up there. And that song punches you in the mouth.
So it's so funny because and that's the thing we love about doing this. Because we are nerds and we're fans, and that means we're fanatics. Yeah. Like you and I have talked, like drinking beers on the phone, talking about music, and it's like, so now I'm comparing, and I'm even hearing like, this is Nirvana stuff, and it's
Bleach came out.
So many.
Bleach had come out.
They're trios. They're all trios. Minutemen, Nirvana. It's
but
amazing.
Also, like talking about that dirty feel. Yeah. Like I think that the lyrics that they were writing, like going back to like how depressing. They're very grown up, but they're very depressing. But they've also got that gritty feel, and that gritty feel to the music goes so well with the lyrics. I mean,
great marriage of it. Yeah,
it creates a real.
I'm a huge one because I'm not talented enough to like play guitar and play with the bass player and drummer. I've played some instruments, mainly I'm a singer, and so automatically I'm playing with more than 3 people. I'm so jealous and envious of just badass like the Jam. Like the Police, the Minutemen, like badass trios, like guitar, bass, drums, boom.
Where all of them have to be able to be like sing and play.
Everyone needs to be so badass and own their shit, and it's like that is just like, I mean, and the thing is too is like, I kind of like I talk about this. I was talking about this in interviews the other day. It's like I probably love like 30 Jeff Tweedy Wilco songs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that I don't like. Whatever. I like the first Sun Volt record. I didn't really listen to anything after that. But it's amazing how powerful Jay Farrar was at this age.
Yeah, and truthfully,
he was a deep dude.
Insane.
I'll say this.
They must have been so jealous of each other. It's insane.
I think initially. I think when this came out, not really, but a little bit later.
By the end, definitely.
By the end, I mean, I think so. Apparently, years back or years later, Jay Farrar mentioned that there was kind of a point they were. Jeff Tweedy was writing songs and putting some of his songs out, and I guess there was one time that, and I don't know if it was just kind of joking. It must have just been joking around or whatever.
Well, we all know this truth or humor.
But I guess Jay Farrar saw Jeff Tweedy stroking his girlfriend's hair, his girlfriend's hair, and I think it was so really I think, but so really what that means
like the Ramones,
what that tells me is that
I got 3 girlfriends. It's awesome.
That means that there was a breakdown in communication, because when communication's good, you could talk to somebody about that and you could say that pissed me off or whatever. But there was obviously a slow breakdown in communication. They were super young, super young. So
and they were so talented, and it's like you probably have people in your ear going,
they really were.
You can do this thing on your own. But I'm probably a rare bird on this Uncle Tupelo thing. I never got that into Wilco, and I never got that into Sun Volt. I had both the first 2 albums. Probably had Wilco's second album, but then
I love being there. It's beautiful.
They're great albums, but it's like
it doesn't hold a candle. This is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, some of it might, but then that Anodyne record. It might be the best record of all.
I don't know anything about
that because that record really sounds like they're like diving into the journals and talking about them just falling apart.
Oh yeah, we've been had.
I should go back and listen to it.
Stuff with a record label.
Yeah,
it's almost like Skinner working for the MCA.
They had to sue. So this is on Rockville Records, and so it's interesting because they put out the demo, and that demo was so great that they were getting a lot of attention. So Rockville Records, I think it was like Giant Records or something in New York.
Giant Records, one of my buddies worked for them.
Really? So they changed their name to Rockville and signed them, and that's when they went to Boston to record, and they couldn't afford this record was made for $3,500.
Yeah.
And so they
most great records are made for under $5,000.
It's insane. So
God of My Voices, Alien Lanes, one of the best records ever.
That's why they ended up recording where they ended up recording, because they couldn't really afford the more expensive place in Boston. Yeah. So they went here, and did this. So then they did their follow-up record, which I think was with the same producers, and they weren't as happy with the production on that. But then the third record that they did, but listen. So what happened was they went and they played a show in Athens, and Peter Buck saw it, and Peter Buck was like, "Come to my house when you can't." He had him come to this house.
Which that would have been a better album to do, really. And that's awesome. And Peter Buck.
And then they're doing Golden Smog and doing side projects.
Yeah, that's all the later stuff. Golden Smog's amazing.
And then they got signed. Okay, so they didn't get any royalties from this. So then they had to turn around and they had to sue Rockville, and then they signed with Sire, and then they put out Anodyne, which I haven't gone back and listened to that, and I don't really know. I'm happy that I don't know. I'm happy that I found this first.
It's cool.
Right.
Because you get in, because I had Anodyne first.
Really?
So this was rough.
So this is the cool thing about this Vic. So with the show, and I know, thanks for being a fan too, because I know you've watched some of them and stuff. It's sometimes someone picks a record. Like, I was stoked that you picked this, but someone picks a record and I'm like, I never listened to it or whatever. Right. And then I'm like building a TV station in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Von Slichten picks a Danzig record, and I'm driving through the mountains of Tennessee listening to Danzig, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to talk about this record. And it's like, so look at Cassy's face right now because of this record.
I love this so much.
It's an incredible record. It's a perfect sloppy record. So it's sloppy.
It
is, but then you listen to it, it's sloppy only in the more the guitar and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But the drummer And the bass player?
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a compliment. That's a compliment.
Oh, I know, good sloppy. I know. We're good sloppy.
I'm going to use a B-Kinch term, okay? And I love this. They are not good. They're great.
Right.
They're not good.
Here's
They're
interesting.
great.
So
Like,
in one of the interviews I read with Jeff Tweedy, he actually said, like he was talking a lot about overdubs. Yeah. And he was just saying something about like, yeah, some bands can do overdubs and stuff, but I think he was saying that when you can hear the flaws, that's how a band has an identity. That's how they have a personality. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We talk about that all the time.
We recorded
like my favorite vocals are the guy might have been on a bend for 6 days and he's sweating and he almost cracks, but he's still barely in tune. Like, have you ever seen Marvin Gaye sing the national anthem? That shit's awesome.
Yeah. Nobody.
You know what I mean? You should. It's amazing. And you can tell he's been up for 5 days. It's amazing.
I don't find perfection to be particularly compelling.
We don't like stuff we don't like stuff that's shiny or perfect.
It doesn't make you feel anything. Yeah. This album really does make you feel.
It is so. It's funny. I texted Cassy this morning and admitting that I'm doing my job poorly. I was like, "What record is it again?" But the funny thing is, I played a show in Florida last week, and I remember saying, "Oh, I need to listen." And I'm driving back 6 hours from playing the show in Florida, and my buddy Jason Clouds, a shout out in Philly, came with us, and his beautiful brother, and he just flew here to be a roadie like that. Yeah. And I go, "Well, I gotta listen to No Depression." He goes, "Why?" I was like, "Because I'm gonna talk about my friend Vic on my show, and we're gonna have Jason at some point as a guest on our show when he's in town from Philly." But I remember saying that, and we listened to this record, and he's like, "God damn, what a good record." I'm like, it's kind of like ripping stuff out of my guts.
But are you going to listen? But you're going to listen to it differently now. And then I text
Cassy and I go, what record is it? She goes, No Depression. I go, that's right. Let me listen to it.
But now you're going to listen. Now that I said the Minuteman, you're going to hear it. Like you're going to hear.
Now that he mentioned Smells Like Teen Spirit, I'm going to listen to it.
So we didn't get to talk about. We didn't get to talk about. What actually, besides Graveyard Shift, is your favorite?
Next
songs, that would be.
I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm going to say. I want to say Factory Belt or Witness. Feel me. Let's talk about. We're going to talk about a few songs.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's talk about. Let's go from Graveyard Shift. Let's skip to No Depression just to lay the. Obviously, that's the name of the album. Mm-hmm. And it launched the alt country magazine, No Depression.
It's a great magazine.
That's where that came from.
Also,
and you think about Bloodshot Records, all that stuff came from this.
But also, like the whole genre, then kind of like I guess it's kind of like a catchphrase it became the catchphrase for kind of like the alt country genre.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And then alt country that basically married country music
with punk,
classic songwriting,
and
punk, Americana, and put it all together. And so that song, obviously, we said it was.
And by the way,
it was the Carter family. It wasn't like. It was the Carter family. It's a gospel.
It's gospel. It's church, and it's anthemic.
It's anthemic, and it reflects back on their lyrics that are this shit sucks.
They wrote that during the Depression.
Yeah,
like during the actual Depression.
Yeah, so it's like they thought this was it.
So when you say you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Like it was,
And we've been at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. And so that's what that song's about. It's so good. The harmonies are good.
That's the thing too. It's like smart, like for young guys. Like because we talk about this in wordsman, and I study that, and I love the way not only words but the way words sit next to each other.
Yes.
You know, and it's like that's the shit that's beautiful because one word doesn't sound that good, but next to another word, it's cute. And it's like for these young guys, this is some deep stuff. Yeah. And then on top of that, they're forming chords and melodies and harmonies, and you're like, man, we talk braille, arm hairs, man, going up, just going up. And it's like, that's when you're like, something came out of the ether and handed you this beautiful stuff.
I think one thing I'm going to say is like, okay, so that part, the only part that bothers me, and this is, and then it gets to something interesting. The only part that bothers me is the only part that sounds forced to me and doesn't sound super organic is the real, like almost like hoedown part in that year.
Oh, I like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so but here's the thing.
It sounds a little. That sounds a little forced.
It does.
That sounds
It
a little,
does.
Yeah.
But as much as I dislike it,
it goes into. Yeah.
I mean, I still would say. I would still say that I don't mind that song. Like I would still say that this is a great record from start to finish.
It's like the verse parts are country, then the chorus parts are just balls out.
I think it's just that it's too stereotypical country for me.
You gotta remember this too. It's like when
but you gotta think they were young.
I mean, they were super young. I mean, then super impressive.
And the other thing is this. You gotta think of this. It's like time is money. And you're like, if it's if it's this many $100 a day and this thing, you're like, listen, I could live with that. It's done.
I think they might have already wrote that like way before though. I think that
my point is like you learn to live with stuff.
Yes.
And you go, this thing irked me 2 weeks ago. Let's get the shit out. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure.
Listen, by the way, opinions, everyone's, I could be wrong.
And also,
I'm just saying.
As much as I think that it's forced, I think that that's even more why it was like incredibly brave for them to do that. I mean, like really, you think about this, it's like they were so young, they did it incredibly well, and it was so brave because they merged and did it so seamlessly.
No actual producer, no producer that didn't, which I think we talked about, no producer that hadn't done Dinosaur Jr. Like if you had Mike Klink or somebody like that, or who Bob Rock, they would be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Right. You know. But it's like, okay, kids. We're just going to record how you
when
do.
They were brave with it. But
it's
we're
brave.
We're 35 minutes already, but I'm having so much fun. The other thing is
that the time?
No, we're fine.
The other thing is Vic's got one of my favorite, just awesome Southern, just speaking voices.
So
amazing.
Did you? Okay, so your second favorite or another favorite would be No Depression?
Yeah.
Well,
really?
I wanted no. I just want to talk about No Depression. My second favorite. I'm going to say
you got like 3 second favorites.
No, daggone it. My second favorite is probably, if we're not counting Graveyard Shift, I'm saying Factory Belt and Whiskey Bottle.
Oh man, yeah.
Factory Belt has that weird change,
Factory Belt I love. I mean, I love that.
And that's the essence of the whole album.
Yes.
I do not want to be stuck in this town.
Right, but it's like, but that has the weird timing switch up so much. There's like, and it's incredible.
That's the thing about like, I mean, I bet you the vocals are done in no more than 2 or 3 takes.
Oh yeah,
like, just boom, that's it.
Especially then, I do want to point out that how many more songs that Jay has than Jeff.
He was the alpha. He was the alpha.
He was primarily like on this. He was primarily.
But on Anodyne, and that's the thing. By the time they get to Anodyne, I think it's more okay. You get one, I get one.
Yeah.
And I think there was that dynamic going on, and that's probably what led to it.
Yeah.
Well, also Whiskey Bottle.
A whiskey bottle. I mean, how could somebody that's like that young be writing? How
could you, when you say Whiskey Bottle, not grab a drink?
I think he was like 22, 23 at the time. Like he was 22, 23. How could you? I'm like, that's around the time that I met. I was that age when I met Tom. Like around that time when I met Tom.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like, I mean,
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this album came out. I was still in high school. I mean, you're we're all kind of the same.
I mean, we don't like to talk about age.
No, but I mean, relatively speaking,
this album came out when I graduated high school.
This was all.
So this came out. This came out in '89 or '90. So, I was 20 years old.
And so you were feeling the same thing that Tweety
I was living in New York City.
Speaking of, let's talk about that real quick. Can I do this?
Sure.
Can I take up?
Well, the insane thing is I didn't discover it until maybe 9-10 years later.
Really?
Which is
right. This album or Uncle Tupelo period?
Well, that's another episode. I mean, I was a new wave guy, heavily in New York,
right.
And then that led to punk guy, and then you discover this other stuff, and that's beautiful, you know. Right. But there's so much stuff that I'm like. And it doesn't matter. Things happen for reasons. You know?
Well, that's like
but
me.
I didn't discover when I was 18. I discovered when I was 28 or something.
I remember when I just moved to Chicago, probably in like 91, early in 91, and I remember my friend Violet. I'm pretty sure that I first heard the name Uncle Tupelo from my friend Violet, but I never actually listened to him. And so now coming back around, I'm like. I'm happy that I didn't because this is cool.
Next
but
week
also
we're gonna have a listen party of the last record. Me and you.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, hang out. We'll have some,
I want to say something about Train.
Boddingtons or something.
because we're the same age, whatever age that is. Something about the train song. It is one of Tweety's few songs on here, and it's a song about. And I was working at Goodies
because he only has like 4 songs on here. Like,
yeah, I was working at Goodies.
That's the one that mentions Roger McGuinn, right? From the birth.
It's a song about him being worried about getting sent off, getting drafted. Yeah. Because when I was working at Goodies...
But isn't that also the one that mentions Roger McGuinn, right?
Because there's a time for everything.
Oh,
and he says, I was 21 when I quit school. He goes, I'll be the first one to die in a war. Because he's worried about... Because I was working at Goodies, and you think it's World War III, we're going to Iraq.
Oh, no,
1990, I'm getting drafted. I was thinking because I was like 17.
Desert Storm, yeah.
I was 17, and that's what that song was about. Now, I really like it.
A lot of my friends went. A lot of my friends in New York
But nobody got drafted, obviously.
But it was a scary time.
There was talk of a draft, though.
Yeah.
At the time, like, they're probably 5 years older than me. Because he was 21 and I was 17.
I'm getting teary thinking about that.
But at the time it was like, oh crap, or what's going to happen? Are we going to all get drafted? But I thought it's kind of it's very vulnerable song because it's not a really good thing for a man to admit. No. Men don't admit they're afraid, right? But I was afraid of getting drafted.
Yeah, listen.
I mean, look at me. Yeah. I'm not meant to go to, I'll fight you if I have to, but I'm not trying to get,
This is the thing.
It's a really good song.
By the way,
it is a really good song.
I cried twice a day, I admit it, but the thing is, it's like one of those songs that, and I'm a big fan of this, I know you are too, it's like when something comes out, like we talk about the ease of the air, and like you say, I didn't write it, like someone helped me write it, like at the power, whatever. Talk about stream of consciousness. Yeah. It hit him, and it's just like, it's that.
Half of it, it's like he's talking about watching TV in his car, and it's almost like he's a time traveler. Like, how the hell are you watching? He's like talking about waiting
I'm so jealous. Like, how are you watching? It's the wrong word. I'm so happy that there's people out there doing that.
It's like, how are you watching TV in your car? It's fucking 1990. Can I cuss?
You can cuss. You can cuss. But we do need to wrap it up.
So I just want to say, man, listen, we're just...
So much to say about this record.
I was playing a show. Well, we were playing a show in Philadelphia at the end of the year for Jason Claus's birthday, and we were chatting backstage, and he goes, comes to friends and family and music, we hit the lottery. Yeah. And we really have. It would be cool to really hit the lottery. But man, I mean, so much love to Vic. We're going to hear Vic sing tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.
If you want to go grab Brent, tell him to come back here. Because please, Father, tell him to buy him a drink. Yeah, if you want to. Yeah. And so much love. And thank you guys for watching. And love is all around, man. And thank you to Uncle Tupelo. And this record, I know this week I'm probably listening to it like 7 times and reimagine and think of these other things.
Listen to some of the other stuff. To Uncle Tupelo, go down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. That's the fun thing, too, is when you go back and you hear, like, demos and stuff. And you're like, oh, I didn't know they even did
this. Or go forward and listen to Anodyne.
Like when you mentioned Flying Burrito Brothers, I'm like, and I love that stuff.
So good. This makes me feel like maybe this is where Cosmic American,
it's so funny because
Graham Parsons would have.
It's so funny because someone the other night said this term, and I cannot believe I've never heard it before. And it's like 2 of my favorite artists or 2 of my favorite bands, and someone goes, Johnny Cash and the Clash.
Oh, Johnny Clash.
Can I mention real quick? They did, I think on this tour, open up for Johnny Thunders.
Oh, Johnny.
They opened up for Johnny Thunders and Warren Zevon.
I'm pretty sure that I read that.
I don't know if it's on this tour.
Oh, that's 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
We gotta have you back. I love you, dude.
Love you, bro.
So much, man. Thank you so much. You guys
sleeping here tonight.
Listen to Vic Burgess.
Listen to Vic Burgess and the X-Laws.
Come here, get on film. Hug us
the door guy.
Thank you to Hunter.
Everybody, love is all around.